and I'm excited about being back. You guys knew I stated that I was on the road this past Friday and I could not do a live and didn't do a live, but I'm back, you guys. I'm happy to be back. It's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. And so tonight we're going to have this discussion. We are going to have the serious discussion. I think we're going to have the discussion that nobody really wants nobody really wants to discuss. I can't even get it out. Thank you. I appreciate it, Chris. So here I am, empowering people to live mentally healthy and prosperous lives. You can find me at www.askdryaya.com for any questions, concerns, just sharing some love while I expand your consciousness. I affirm that you received every bit of inspiration that you needed to encourage you today. I also affirm that every lesson that you need to learn, that you learned it today, and it was a well-received lesson. So let's get right into this. This is a Blue Stocking podcast. Let's get right into hugs to you as well, Money. Let's get right into this because I think this is important. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos and I've heard a lot of podcasts talking about dating. Everybody talks about dating and bringing things to the table, and we're going to discuss that on a episode further down the line about what it means to bring something to the table. But what happens when you get past all of that, when you find yourself in a situation that you thought was going to be a loving and kind situation, but you find that it is not that. I mean, not even remotely close to what you thought it was going to be. And it is quite the abusive situation. It is a circumstance and a situation that you find yourself in and you're struggling. But you thought this was the one. And we're going to really talk about that tonight because I want to get into this into this email because, again, it needs to be discussed. We don't discuss it enough. When we consider abuse, we think about women being abused, but we never consider how men are abused. We don't consider how can I say, we don't really consider how men in relationships are treated, whether it be physically, emotionally, verbally, mentally, financially. Some men are financially abused, but we are going to get into this email so we can have the real discussion, because this discussion needs to be had. And let me say on the onset that a lot of people are not going to like what I have to say, but that's okay, because I challenge people to be better and to do better and to think differently in order that they can create a better version of themselves. And so I make no apologies for that and certainly make no excuses. So we are going to get in this email. Raquel told me that it was going to be quite the email. And as you guys know, I don't see an email beforehand, but I usually get the gist of an email. So she says this is about abuse. So let's get into it. Dear Dr. YaYa, I have been with my wife for 7 years. We have 2 beautiful children. I am considered to be a very successful man in my field, and my wife enjoys our lifestyle. I love my wife and believe that we have a solid marriage. But when she gets angry or irritated, she hits me. I have no one to blame but myself because I saw the red flags before we married. She slapped me once while we were dating. She apologized and I forgave her. She has gone to counseling only after I have threatened to leave her, but quit after 3 sessions. I'm tired of making excuses for my bruises and her terrible attitude towards others. I plan on leaving after this whole pandemic situation or no later than April 2021. As a Black man, it hurts me to find myself in this circumstance. What is the best way to leave and still make sure that my children are safe. Okay. Well, there it is. There it is. Now we raised two sons. Okay. So I understand when, or let me say it's a concern when I hear things like this. It's a concern to me. Although my sons are well into their manhood, it's still a concern for me because I did have a family member who was killed by an abusive girlfriend. So let's get some facts out before we really just dig into this and talk about this email. Now, along with that, this is what he also says, because it's a pretty long email, you guys. She hit him with a rake, threw a glass punch bowl at him, put his hand on the barbecue grill, threw hot scalding water on him while he was shaving, and she bit him. Just to give you some things that went along with this email that I received. So now let's look at some statistics here. More than 40% of men are victims of domestic violence. I know the only thing we see the pictures of the woman, blocking herself, and we see the photos of women with the black eyes, and we see these photos as it pertains to women being abused and the mother holding her child with the teardrop coming down her face. But men are abused as well. Men are certainly abused as well. Nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by their partner. So even as I'm speaking, somebody is being pushed, shoved, kicked, bit. They're being hurt. Somebody is being hurt, even in this minute as I'm speaking. Nearly 20 people per minute. The other part of this whole thing is that men don't report abuse because of the embarrassment, the humiliation, fear, and other things that are based on the individual. They may feel a level of embarrassment. They may feel like no one's going to believe them. All of the things that a woman feels when she's in that situation, men feel it as well. Let me tell you something. Men don't have any different emotions as women. We all have the same emotions. Whatever emotions a man has, a woman has. Whatever emotions a woman has, a man has. And so if she can feel love, he can feel love. If she can feel sad, he can feel sad. And so we have to come in this knowing that men get abused too. Okay? Men get abused too. There's something else we have to consider. Young boys are brought up and taught not to hit girls, but girls are not taught the same in regards to boys. We seldomly ever hear someone tell a little girl, you're not supposed to hit boys. But in any community we go into, we hear you're not supposed to, we hear the little boys being told, you are not supposed to hit girls. That should work both ways. That certainly should work both ways, and it does not. So we're at this place where even now we see on social media where women are fighting men like they can actually beat them. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some videos where girls are actually hitting guys in the face and punching them, and then making it seem as though, oh, if you hit me, you're the one that's wrong. Let me say this to any woman that's listening now, and any woman that's going to listen to this broadcast afterwards. Ladies, if you don't want to be hit by a man, don't hit a man. And so I say that because, again, a lot of women think that it's okay for me to do it, but if he hits me, that's abuse. Listen, it's abuse when you hit him as well. It's not just abuse when he hits you. It's abuse when you hit him as well. So we're at this place where he sends this letter. This black man sends this letter and he says, listen, I'm in this circumstance and situation. I'm being bit. I'm being hit. I'm being kicked. What should I do? Well, short of slapping the shit out of her, excuse my language. Let's get to this. Okay, did she? Okay, let's not. We have to stop playing games with this feminism, and we have to stop playing games with women thinking that it's okay for them to do something, but it's not okay for men to do. But yet you want equal rights. No, what you want, you say you want equal rights, but you don't want the responsibilities that go with having those type of rights. So that's the real discussion. That's the real discussion. Because men are not reporting that they're being abused. Men get abused emotionally as well. By example, here's an example. Oh, you're not a man. That's emotional abuse. Anytime you emasculate a man, that's emotional abuse. If any man's ever been told by an intimate partner, oh, you make me sick, you ain't ish, you ain't a man, it's certainly emotional abuse. No man wants to hear that. Period. No man wants to hear that. That is emotional abuse. So he asked me the question. He says, okay, what can I do? What's the best way to leave and still make sure that my children are safe? Well, first, apparently, let me tell you something about women abusers. I'm going to help a whole lot of men out there. Women abusers don't like to be exposed. Now, most men who abuse, women will tell and they will deny. They will deny and make excuses. Oh, no, I didn't hit her. That's a lie. She's saying that because she wants me to get locked up. Women who abuse don't like to be exposed. They don't like it one bit because they want to put on airs as though everything in their house is perfect. You know, a lot of women who have these issues suffer from that complexion, that thing of being, okay, I want to present to my family and friends that I have the perfect relationship. So what you want to do if you find yourself in this situation is that you want to expose her. You want to make a report. You want to start gathering evidence. And what I mean by that is that you take a picture of the stuff she's destroyed. Don't confront her. That's not what you want to do. After it's all over, you take the pictures, you take whatever is being said. If you have to secretly record, you do that too. If you have to wait until that person calms down and storms out the house, leaves, take a picture of everything that was destroyed and broken. So you want to make sure that you have some evidence of that, because it's not going to be easy. Now, what you don't want to do as a man is in the middle of that fight is call the police. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to do that, because more than likely we understand that the police are not always on a man's side when it comes to someone being in a domestic violence situation. So you do not want to call the police. You should make a report the following day. Now, this is the thing that most people don't understand. It's easier for them to arrest you as a male and just say it's your fault. You guys got into a fight and then she's, oh my God, you guys, he pinched me on my arm and I have this bruise. Oh, I can't believe. Okay. It's easier for them to arrest you and just take you downtown. But if you report it the following day and say, I want to report Miss Susie Q and what she did yesterday, they have to take that report. They have to take it. And that's the one thing that she is not going to want is for her little perfect family or relationship to come tumbling down. So you don't do it that night. You know, if you call 911 that night, more likely you'll be the one in trouble going to jail. Okay. But if you do it the next day and you make a report, make sure that you state clearly that you want a report and you want a number, that you're just not running down there telling on her. Again, I think men should tell when they're being abused. I know and understand it can be difficult emotionally and mentally because of the issue of masculinity in our societal community. It appears that the man is weak, but abuse is abuse. Abuse is abuse. How you doing, Rosso? How you doing, Sue Bone? It's good to see you. Okay, and so that's what you do. The next thing you do is you tell someone. I don't know if you have a person you can talk to and tell a family member, a friend, and say, this is what's going on. And understand something. I'm just not talking about physical abuse. I'm talking about verbal and emotional abuse as well. That way someone knows that if something pops off, that you weren't the one who just snapped. Because some women like to present it as, I didn't do anything. I just cooked dinner and he said he didn't want it and he flipped the table over. But what you failed to say is that when you cooked dinner, you poured half of the hot food on his lap and he jumped up and the table tipped over. See, we have to be mindful that there are women out there who like to set men up. We're just going to be real. They like to set you up. That's why I say, don't call 911 when it's happening. You make a report the next day. You make a report the next day. You make sure you tell someone, your good male friends, homies, frat brothers, church members, whoever you talk to, family members, you make sure that you say, listen, every time Miss Thing gets mad, she can't have her way. I'm a bunch of no good MFs. She's threatening to cut clothes. I mean, it's just crazy. And so I'm just letting you know what kind of situation I'm in anytime she gets angry. Because let me tell you something. Anyone who cannot control their emotions, to me, and this is me, is a trash individual. And I'm going to tell you why I feel like that. I feel like that because you have no control over the external things that happen. You have no control over the when the signal light is going to turn green. You have no control over whether it's going to rain. You have no control over how people next to you in the lane next to you are going to drive. But damn it, you have control over your emotions. You have control over everything as it pertains to you. And if you cannot control your emotions, if it's that bad and your emotions are that overwhelming, you are a trash individual. If you have no self-discipline, what in the hell is wrong with you, man or woman? I expect children. I expect toddlers. I expect little ones who are finding their way in the world. I expect them to get in over their heads. I expect them to fall down and cry and because it's something new. But you, with your grown self, you cannot control not putting your hands on another person. That's a problem. That's a problem. It really is. And you might want to seek help for that. Meditate or do something. But I digress. So tell somebody, because most of the time these people don't like to be exposed, especially women. Women are so vain. They want to make it appear as though they They want to make it appear as though their relationships are on par. And those women who like to fake the funk, that the exposure for them would be the worst. No, Chris, no such thing as a chemical imbalance that causes you to do anything like that. People like to use that, but that's not it. You may have borderline personality disorder. Okay. But people like to use that as a type of excuse in order to, well, I just can't help myself. I just saw red, and I just blacked out. Okay. Yeah. No. Really, no. So the next thing you want to do is you want to put money aside. The same thing that they tell a woman. Well, if you're being abused and you're trying to escape, put money aside. It's the same thing for a man. Remember, I just stated more than 40% of men are victims of domestic violence. Why is no one sounding the alarm? Why is no one jumping up and down and say, look, it's not good for Rick to be getting his head bashed in every time his wife is upset? That's not the thing that is supposed to happen. Why are there no advocates standing up for men who are being abused in this type of situation? And then when he can't take anymore, when he snaps and he gives her a real good shaking, I just want to shake you. And then he's the one that's getting locked up for 15 years. Why? Because he never told anyone that in the past 7 years, he was the one being abused. You can only take so much abuse. A lot of men say that they wouldn't even call and get help if they could not remain anonymous. That's just how bad it is. That's how terrible it is. That's how embarrassing it is. That's a terrible thing. It's another thing when men are unable to see themselves as victims. When men don't see themselves as victims, they don't readily get out. They think that they can, I'm a man, so I can deal with this. But listen, she can only stab you so many times before you die, sir. She can only shoot at you so many times before she hits the target, sir. She can only call you so many names before it starts to cause some sort of depression, sir. You're right, Chris. Most men have too much pride to admit it. They have too much pride to admit it, but it's happening. It's happening. I cannot stress this again. More than 40% of men are victims of domestic violence. That means somebody you know. Somebody you know is getting slapped across his face even now, getting spit on, getting stabbed with scissors that she used to cut up his shoes with. This is not good and it's not right. It's not right. And women are taught that domestic abuse is something that happens to women. So therefore, men don't even have an ally in women when it comes to something like this. Well, I'm an ally. But the majority of women won't even consider that the man is a victim. The first thing that most of these people will say is, oh, well, what did you do to her? As though that's an excuse. Men hear things like, well, you had to do something. But when it's a woman, you're victim shaming, you're victim blaming, And don't do that. But when it comes to a man, most of them will get, well, you had to do something to her. She just didn't snap. What did you say? Did you hit her first? Did you call her out of her name? And so men are like, look, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. Damien says sometimes it starts when they say their mothers treated them. Yes, a lot of women, and I hear this most of the time. I hear when people say about women, oh, you have daddy issues. No, she doesn't. She's got mommy issues. A lot of women have mommy issues. You only have daddy issues when your daddy is around. That's like people with money issues. If you don't have any money, it's not an issue. You don't have any issues. The only people with money got money issues. Okay? So it's the same thing. If your father is not around, that's not a father issue. It's a mommy issue. And so, yes, some women have a lot of mommy issues. They have a lot of things that they didn't get past, and a lot of things that they decided they don't need to be healed about. They just say, well, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be the strong, independent Black woman that happens to abuse the man that she's with, either verbally or emotionally or financially. Financial abuse is not only when she says she needs more, buy me a Birkin bag, buy me, Michael Kors, buy me, what do they have? Gucci. I don't know, because I'm not a label whore. Okay, I'm not a label whore. I'm not for making anybody rich. But financial abuse also comes in the form of her telling you what you don't have. Oh, you broke. You don't have enough money. Oh, you can't take care of me. I need a real man. It's also financial abuse. It needs to be talked about, and it needs to be recognized. So men hear these things all the time in most cases. But as soon as he tells a woman, well, I really don't like the way you clean the house. Oh, it's a problem. Oh, that's a problem. I can't believe he said that to me. That's just abuse. He was just so abusive. But he doesn't see himself as a victim enough to say, look, you're not going to talk to me like that. If you don't like how I support you and how I take care of you, you don't have to be here. Because as soon as he says that, she's going to get angry and get mad and then start throwing accusations. Oh, you must be seeing somebody else. Deflection will turn into neglect, and we know neglect is abuse. So these things happen to men. And we know that even just based on this email. Just based on this email, that this man has said his wife hit him with a rake, threw a glass punch bowl at him, cut the side of his head, put his hand on the barbecue grill, threw hot scalding water on him while he was shaving. This is happening. This is for real. This is happening. I don't give a damn about a woman wanting a Birkin bag. I don't give a damn about her wanting her nails done. Abuse is abuse. And any woman who would treat you like this, any woman who would physically abuse you, anyone who would verbally abuse you, any woman who would emotionally and mentally and psychologically abuse you does not deserve you. Period. Period. And at some point, if a man is in this type of situation, I want to encourage you to make a report. I want to encourage you to find someone to talk to and tell these issues to. Start collecting that evidence in pictures, in video, in sound recording, Start putting money aside that you say, look, I have to get out of this. I have to get out of this. I'm going to leave you with this statistic and I'm going to get out of here. Men who are victims of domestic abuse have a higher rate of committing suicide than their counterparts. That part is serious. Domestic abuse is serious, not just for women, but for men as well. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back with another episode this week. Remember, you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated. I certainly appreciate you joining me. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.